Welcome to Understanding Dementia. So what is dementia? What are illnesses that cause dementia? And what's the difference between Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia? These are some of the common questions that people have about dementia. We'll explore this together in this session, but as you go through the information, there are 3 things to keep in mind. First, if you have met one person with dementia, you have met one person with dementia. Everyone experiences the disease differently. If you have met one family with dementia, you have met just one family with dementia. We all have different relationships, family dynamics, values, beliefs, coping styles, all of which impact our experience of being affected by dementia. And last, there's often no right or wrong when it comes to living with dementia or caregiving in dementia. Strategies can be very individual based on what is best for the person living with dementia and their family. So what is dementia? The word dementia itself is a broad medical term, an umbrella term, used to describe a collection of symptoms that indicate physical damage in the brain. Symptoms may include memory loss and difficulties with thinking, problem solving, or language, problems severe enough to reduce a person's ability to perform everyday activities. A person with dementia may also experience changes in mood or behavior. Dementia is progressive, which means the symptoms will gradually get worse as more brain cells become damaged and eventually die. A diagnosis of dementia requires there to be significant changes in memory, plus changes to at least one other cognitive domain, for example, language, judgment, thinking, orientation, perception, decision-making, behavioral changes, and others. Plus, those changes must be significant enough to cause impairment to the individual's daily functioning, and those changes must not be caused by an underlying medical condition, delirium, or other psychiatric disorder. All of which is to say, a diagnosis must be done by a doctor. So who is affected? Dementia affects many people across all cultures, young and old. Most people are over 65 when they're diagnosed, but there are a number of people who are diagnosed with young onset dementia, which means they are under the age of 65. It also impacts families as spouses, adult children, siblings, and in some cases parents become caregivers. Although all of the people in the slide look the same, they are all very different. As mentioned previously, every person with dementia is different, every caregiver is different, and every family is different. So let's look at some of the types of dementia. Alzheimer's disease is a common diagnosis. With Alzheimer's disease, plaques caused by abnormal deposits of a particular type of protein called amyloid, and tangles, which are caused by an abnormal deposits of a different protein called tau. Plaques and tangles destroy brain cells, causing thinking, ability, and memory to deteriorate. When brain cells degenerate and die, the brain shrinks, known as atrophy, which is a hallmark of Alzheimer's disease. Vascular dementia, also called multi-infarct dementia, occurs when the cells in the brain are deprived of oxygen. A network of blood vessels called the vascular system supplies the brain with oxygen. If there is a blockage in the vascular system, or if it is diseased, blood is prevented from reaching the brain. As a result, cells in the brain die, leading to the symptoms of dementia. When Alzheimer's disease and vascular dementia occur at the same time, the condition is called mixed dementia. Researchers don't know exactly how many older adults currently diagnosed with a specific type of dementia actually have mixed dementia, but autopsy studies indicate that the condition may be significantly more common than previously realized. It's also possible to have a mixture of other dementias happening at the same time, which would also be called a mixed dementia. Lewy body dementia is a form of dementia that occurs because of abnormal deposits of a protein called alpha-synuclein inside the brain's nerve cells. These deposits are called Lewy bodies, after the scientist who first described them. The deposits interrupt the brain's messages. Lewy body dementia usually affects the areas of the brain that involve thinking and movement. Why or how Lewy bodies form is unknown. Lewy body dementia can occur by itself, or together with Alzheimer's disease, or with Parkinson's. If Parkinsonism precedes dementia by a period of 1 year or more, it is termed Parkinson disease dementia. Dementia that precedes or accompanies the onset of Parkinsonism is labeled Lewy body dementia. Frontotemporal dementia, also known as frontotemporal degeneration, is unlike Alzheimer's disease, which generally affects most areas of the brain, global atrophy. In comparison, frontotemporal dementia is an umbrella term for a group of rarer disorders that primarily affect the frontal and temporal lobes of the brain, the areas generally associated with personality, behavior, and language. In some cases, brain cells in these areas shrink or die. In other cases, the brain cells in these areas get larger, containing round, silver Pix bodies. That variant of frontotemporal dementia is called Pix disease. There are several other diagnoses that would fall under the frontotemporal dementia spectrum, including behavioral variant frontotemporal dementia, semantic dementia, progressive non-fluent aphasia, and corticobasal degeneration. And of course, no specific diagnoses. Depending on the physician or the individual symptoms, there may not be a specific diagnosis of one of the diseases we've just discussed. Sometimes doctors just diagnose a person with dementia because they are showing signs of memory loss and other changes in cognition that are impairing their ability to function. But the doctors don't know what specific type of disease is causing the symptoms. In some cases, the person with dementia refuses further examination and testing. In other cases, the doctor may be confident that further testing would not significantly alter the course of treatment. For these individuals, they have one of the underlying diseases, but they may never find out which one. If families or the person with dementia really want to know what type of disease is causing the dementia, they can ask to be referred to a specialist, such as a geriatrician, a neurologist, psychiatrist, or geriatric psychiatrist. Although each person is different, what they all have in common is dementia. For example, if a person has dementia, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have Alzheimer's disease, but if a person has Alzheimer's disease, they have dementia. Another way to think about it is similar to a basket of fruit. Fruit is also an umbrella term, but there are many different types of fruit. Apples, oranges, bananas, grapes are all types of fruit. If you have an apple, you have a piece of fruit. But if you have a piece of fruit, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have an apple. Dementia, like fruit, is the umbrella term. And like the different kinds of fruit, there are different types of dementia. This is a more sequential or linear way of demonstrating how the various diseases are related to the term dementia. Progressive degenerative diseases like Alzheimer's disease, vascular, Lewy body, frontotemporal, or mixed dementia cause destructive protein and vascular changes in and around brain cells, which cause damage to the brain cells and the neural pathways in the brain, which leads to symptoms of dementia such as memory loss, confusion and disorientation, impaired judgment, communication problems, behavior changes, and others. It's this collection of symptoms that together we call dementia. You may have heard of a condition called delirium. While the symptoms of delirium and dementia are very similar, they are not the same condition. Delirium occurs when symptoms of mental decline appear suddenly and rapidly, typically over the course of hours or days. It is commonly caused by medical conditions, such as those listed on the left side of the screen, things like infection or fever, malnutrition, substance abuse, pain, chronic illness. Delirium is reversible, dementia is not. That means that when the underlying cause of the delirium is treated, when the person is rehydrated or their infection is treated, so the underlying cause of the delirium is treated, then the person's symptoms disappear and their mental abilities improve to the way they were before. Dementia, on the other hand, cannot be reversed. Once diseases, such as those listed on the right-hand side that we've been speaking about, Alzheimer's disease, Lewy body, frontotemporal dementia, once those diseases have caused damage to the brain cells and the neural pathways in the brain, the damage cannot be repaired. It's also important to note that people with dementia can also develop delirium caused by the same medical conditions as listed on the left. A sudden decline or worsening in symptoms may mean that a person with dementia is experiencing delirium and should see a doctor right away. Only doctors are able to diagnose dementia. Diagnosing dementia involves a process of ruling out other things, including those conditions that cause delirium. They may also assess a person's functioning by conducting a cognitive assessment test called a mini mental state exam or a Montreal Cognitive Assessment, MOCA. These tests are scored out of 30 and are designed to test different types of memory and thinking abilities, such as visuospatial awareness, short-term memory, language, and orientation. Neuroimaging may also be ordered to determine if there are signs of brain shrinking or if there are signs of a stroke. It's also important for doctors to hear from family members about the kinds of day-to-day symptoms and changes that family members are noticing. A good way to do this is by keeping a journal and making a copy for the doctor to read ahead of time. Take detailed notes about the things that you have noticed or things that you have experienced yourself that are concerning to you. Simply telling the doctor that you're worried about your memory is very different than sharing that you recently got lost coming home from the grocery store because you couldn't remember which way to turn at the stop sign and that nothing looked familiar. In the same vein, there is a difference between saying that you forget words versus saying that you are finding you have trouble describing things because your vocabulary seems to be shrinking, or that you can no longer do the crossword puzzles at the level that you formerly could. We all forget words sometimes, but a healthy aging adult should not experience a reduction in the size of your vocabulary. It can take some time to wrap our thoughts around what all this means. You can continue to reflect on this and what you've noticed and make some notes for the next time you visit your doctor. In the more information below this video, you can find a link to a downloadable document that contains links to a number of helpful resources, including print resources that you can download. And of course, the Alzheimer's Society website at alzheimerbc.org contains a wealth of information. If you have any questions about the information you've heard here, or any other questions about living with dementia, please don't hesitate to call our First Link Dementia Helpline. English services are available Monday to Friday between 9 a.m. and 8 p.m. Cantonese or Mandarin and Punjabi services are available Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.